Good afternoon or good morning, students, depending on what time of day it is that you're watching this. Today is October 26th, and for our Do Now, we will respond thoughtfully to the question about sharing during our social emotional learning lesson and why it's so important that everybody has an opportunity to do that. Our objective today, we're continuing with adding and subtracting fractions. So today what's different is we're mixing it up a little bit. Our essential question is, what key steps should I take when I add or subtract fractions? And why is, having a common denominator so important when we do that? Our assignment will be to watch the video and work on, there are today 15 problems and they are on 2 pages. So please work carefully. I know that I've seen a lot of you develop a lot of confidence and fluency, and we're going to do this until you guys are really comfortable with this. And it's going to be great when you go into algebra next year and you're very confident with fractions. Your Algebra 1 teachers next year will be so proud of you. Our exit ticket, we will complete the sentence. When I add or subtract fractions, the first thing I need to do is find a common, and I'm not going to say it right now, but I know you know the answer to this. And to do that, I must find the least common what of the 2 denominators given. And if we don't finish up in class, please, that will be your homework, to just finish up what we haven't done. Importantly, I don't want you to forget that we have a Wednesday quiz assignment in Teams. It counts toward both a grade and attendance. But when you do it, make sure you click See Results at the bottom of the page, and that submits it to me. And I'm asking you to do that by 2 p.m., and that way I can get them graded and get them marked in PowerSchool and get them back to you. So our picture this week, a lot of pumpkins this week. Remember, if you are an A cohort, you'll show me your notes on Monday and Tuesday. If you are a B cohort, you'll show me your notes on Thursday and Friday. Show me all your hard work. If you're a distance learner, you're going to go with the virtual schedule that I've sent to you in email. I'm going to send everybody a link at the appropriate day in the afternoon. And I'll also have a half hour on Wednesdays as well to meet with you. So let's get started. And we talked about this in class already. Why is it important that everyone have an opportunity to speak during one of our social emotional learning lessons? And remember, that doesn't mean everyone has to speak. Some people may not feel like sharing, but sometimes if people see others share, it helps them to open up. When we finish our lesson, our exit ticket will be to complete these 2 sentences that we talked about before. And let's think about these when we work. When I add or subtract fractions, the first thing I need to do is find a common what. To do that, I must find the least common what of the 2 denominators given. So let's continue. Let's start with our lesson. And some of this is reminder and review, but it's always worth doing extra review because that helps us get really confident and fluent in our work. So when we add and subtract fractions, the first thing we do is we write all mixed numbers as improper fractions. So a mixed number would be 1 3/4. An improper fraction would be 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7, would be 7/4, and those are equal to each other. The second thing we do is we find a common denominator by identifying the least common, and I don't like the word denominator there. I'm going to say, let's identify the least common multiple. So please make this correction. It is going to be the least common denominator, but I really want us to understand that that number that we come up with as the new denominator is a multiple of both the denominators that we are given in the problem. Then we will rewrite the fractions using this least common multiple as a new denominator. And then we'll adjust each denominator to reflect this change. After we do that, we'll simply add or subtract the numerators only because we keep the common denominator. And then if needed, we will simplify. That's not always necessary, but sometimes it is. So let's look at our first couple of examples. And you should be, if you're feeling pretty confident, why don't you just pause the video now, work on these, and then come back. We could work on them in groups of 4. Let's do that. So first we have, again, pause if you think you can try it on your own. But first we have 1/10 plus 3/10. That's a pretty easy one. Our denominator remains tenths, 4/10. However, both the numerator and the denominator are divisible by 2. So we can simplify. 4 divided by 2 is 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5, and our final answer is 2/5. We need to find a least common multiple of 4 and 3. So let's look at multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16. Let's see, multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12. Well, it appears that we have a common multiple of 12. So 12 will be our new denominator. So we'll set our problem up with twelfths. This is addition. Now 4 times 3 is 12. Therefore, we multiply the numerator by 3 to get 3/12. 3 times 4 is 12. So therefore, we will multiply the numerator by 4, which gives us 8. And 3/12 and 8/12 equals 11/12, and that answer cannot be simplified any further. We need here in number 3 a common multiple. So let's look at multiples of 15. Our 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. That is also a multiple of 10. We have 10, 20, 30. So that will be our new common denominator. So we will rewrite our problem. This is a subtraction problem. Always look carefully at that. And we'll have our new denominator of 30. We know that 10 times 3 is 30. So we'll multiply that numerator by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. We know that 15 times 2 is 30. So we'll multiply this numerator by 2, which gives us 22/30. Students, be careful. We've got a greater number, a larger number, being subtracted from a smaller number. In this problem, we're looking at 9 minus 22. This is a positive 9 minus 22. Remember, to do this, we ignore the signs, subtract, and take the sign of this number with the larger absolute value. 22 is larger than 9, so our answer will definitely be negative. And then we just subtract 22 minus 9 is 13. So our final answer is 13/30. So a little integer work there with our fractions, and that cannot be simplified. That is a final answer. Now we've got -6 minus 1/4. We need a denominator of fourths. So we can think of this as -6/1. Let's rewrite the problem with denominators of fourths. So this second value will remain the same. But what do I do to get from 1 to 4? I multiply times 4. That means I'll multiply the numerator times 4. Now remember, we've got a negative sign here. So this will be -24/4 minus 1/4. So if we just, let's change our color and let's just look at the numerators, okay? We know our denominator will be fourths. What we have is -24 minus 1. So just handle those numerators as an integer problem. So -24 minus 1, we continue left on the number line. So that would equal -25. Now, this is an improper fraction. So we're going to take negative 25 and divide it by 4. And 4 times 6 is 24. And we subtract that. 25 minus 24 will give us 1 left over. So that would be a negative 6 1/4 as a final answer. Don't forget the negative sign. Okay, that one was a little bit tricky. I hope you did a good job with that. Let's look at the next group of 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If you want to try them on your own, go ahead and pause the video and then come back to this. Okay, let's work these problems. If we are subtracting a negative, it is the same as adding a positive. That's just like our regular integer work. So we have 2/9 plus 5/18 so far. Now we have to convert our denominator, and we know that 18 is a multiple of 9. So we can go with 18 as our denominator. So something over 18 for the first value, something over 18 for the, well, we know it's 5 over 18 for the second value. Now, how do we get from 9 to 18? We multiply by 2. And we will also multiply the numerator by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So what we have a denominator of 18, and we add the numerators. 4 plus 5 is 9. We can simplify this if we divide the numerator by 9 and the denominator by 9, have to divide them by the same thing, we will end up with 1/2. Now in number 6, we say we are adding a negative, but really adding a negative is the same as subtracting. So we're going to need a new denominator here, something that's a multiple, of 8 and 20. So let's look at the multiples of 8. We have 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. 40 is a multiple of 20. So that will be our new denominator. So we'll rewrite this problem with a denominator of 40. So something over 40 minus something over 40. So how do we get from 8 to 40? We multiply by 5. So we will also do that to the numerator. 5 times 5 is 25. How do we get from 20 to 40? We multiply by 2. So we'll multiply the numerator by 2, which is 2. Now, our work is getting pretty easy now. We have a denominator of 40 and 25, take away 2. We just subtract those numerators for a numerator of 23. That cannot be simplified. That's a final answer. Let's look at number 7. We've got a bit of work to do here. I see that we have an 8 and a 4. Well, 8 is a multiple of 4. So we can work with 8 as our denominator. However, we also have a negative sign and we have a mixed number. So to convert negative, I think what I'm going to do, students, is work over here where I have a little bit more room. To convert negative 2 3/8 to a mixed number, here's what we do. Remember, it's 8 times 2, which equals 16. And then we add the numerator, which equals 19. And we put that over the same denominator. Okay, now the next one is a little trickier. This negative or minus 1 3/4, let's just write it here. Let's change this denominator to eighths first. So how do we get from 4 to eighths? we multiply by 2. So we'll multiply the numerator by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Now let's take this 1 and 6 over 8 and turn it into an improper fraction. 8 times 1 equals 8, and we add the numerator, which will give us 14 over 8. So now we need to rewrite the problem using these new fractions. And remember, this is a subtraction problem. So we have negative, remember this is a negative, negative 19 over 8 minus 14 over 8. So our denominator will be eighths. And now we have to subtract negative 19 minus 14, which will give us negative 33. Now we need to convert that to a mixed number. So 33 divided by 8, 4 times 8 is 32, with 1/8 left over. So that will be 4 and 1/8, and remember we have a negative sign here. And that is a final answer. So we had to work a little bit for that one. Okay, number 8, we have a 6 and a 4. So we need a common denominator. So the multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18. Multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12. So we can use 12 as our denominator. So let's work with 1 and 5, 6 will equal, let's convert it to twelfths first. 1 and 6 times 2 is 12, 5 times 2 is 10. Now let's convert it to an improper fraction. 12 times 1 is 12, plus 10 is 22 twelfths. We'll save that for later. Now let's work with the 2 and 3 fourths. So we're going to convert that to twelfths. 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times 3 is 9. Now we'll convert that mixed number to an improper fraction. 12 times 2 is 24, plus 9 is 33 twelfths. Now we still have to do the problem. So now we have, and this is an addition problem, we have 22 twelfths plus 33 twelfths, which equals 55 twelfths. And if we divide 55 by 12, we get 4. 12 times 4 is 48, with 7 twelfths left over. So that will equal 4 and 7 twelfths as our final simplified answer. So these are a little more challenging. Keep practicing them. It's okay, students, to do a problem more than once. You can go back and get a new piece of paper and do the same problem over again. It's great practice. That's how I learned. So let's look at the next group of 4. 9, 10, 11, and 12. If you'd like to take a minute and try them on your own, that would be great. And then come back to the video and see how you did. Okay, number 9. So let's get our pen ready. We need a denominator of 20. 20 is a multiple of 5 and 4. So we're going to have 2, and let's see, 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 4 is 16. 2 and 16 twentieths minus 2 and 4 times 5 is 20. 1 times 5 is 5. Now we need to convert these to improper fractions. 20 times 2 is 40. 40 plus 16 is 56. So we've got 56/20ths minus 20 times 2 is 40, and 5 is 45/20ths. And our denominator is 20ths. 56 minus 45 is, we're adding, oops, I forgot to add. We're subtracting a negative, so we're adding. 56 plus 45 is 101. And 101 divided by 20 is 5. 5 times 20 is 100, and 1/20th left over. Okay, and remember, it's because when you're subtracting a negative, you change it to positive. Only when you're subtracting a negative, only when you see this together next to each other. Okay, let's look at number 10. We need a common denominator of 16 and 6. That's a little tricky. So the multiples of 16. 16 times 1 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. 16 times 3 is 48. The multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48. So that's our least common denominator. So 1, and how many 48ths? Well, 16 times 3, so we do 7 times 3, 21, minus, so 6 times 8 is 48, 1 times 8 is 8. Now we need to turn them into improper fractions. 48 times 1 is 48, plus 21 is 69. So we have, let's change our color so we don't get confused. We have 69 48ths minus 48 times 1 is 48, plus 8 more is 56. And 69 minus 56 is 13, and that's our final answer. Okay, we have an addition 1 with a negative fraction in the front. Multiples of 9 are 9, 18. 18 is also a multiple of 6. So let's rewrite this in 18ths. 6 times 3 is 18. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 9 times 2 is 18. 2 times 2 is 4. We need to make this one into an improper fraction. So we have negative 15 over 18 plus 18 times 1 is 18 plus 4 more is 22. Okay, now what we have, we're looking at the numerators only here. We have negative 15 plus 22. So our answer will definitely be positive. And we just subtract and keep the sign of the larger number, which is 22. 22 minus 15 is 7. So our answer will be 7/18. And then number 12. So we have 4 and a 2. 4 is definitely our denominator. Let's turn this into an improper fraction. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So we have negative 13/4 plus negative 1/2, which is the same as just negative 1/2. 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 2 is 2. So 13/4 minus 2/4 equals 11/4. Oh, sorry, we're subtracting. Let's move over here where we can do some work. It's negative 13 minus 2, and that equals negative 15. So it's negative 15 fourths. And let's turn that back into a mixed number by dividing 15 by 4. So 3 times 4 is 12 and 3 fourths. So that will be a negative 3 and 3 fourths. Okay, now what we have is something new. We've got some word problems here, some applications. Please pause the video, and at least I want you to try to read them and see if you can at least kind of set up the problem and try to figure out how the problem would be set up. We've got 3 of them here. So the first one, the length of a board is 2 5/8 feet long. If 5/6 of a foot is trimmed off, find a new length. If we're trimming off, what operation are we doing? We are subtracting. So 2 5/8 minus 5/6. We need a common denominator, and multiples of 8 are 8, 16, 24. Multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, and our least common multiple is 24. So that will be 2, and 8 times 3 is 24, 5 times 3 is 15. 2 15 24ths minus, and 6 times 4 is 24, 5 times 4 is 20. Let's now turn this into an improper fraction, so we can go ahead and subtract. 24 times 2 is 48, and 48 plus 15 is 63. So we have 63 24ths. Minus 20 24ths equals 43 24ths. Let's make that a mixed number. So 43 divided by 24 is 1 and 19 24ths, which can not be simplified any further. So 1 and 19 24ths. Remember, this is a word problem. Feet. 1 and 19 24ths feet of wood. Next problem. During a recent 2-day snowstorm, it snowed 6 1/8 inches on the first day and 8 5/12 inches on the second day. Find the total. I hope you figured out what operation we're doing. We are adding. So we will have 6 1/8 plus 8 5/12. And what's our common denominator going to be? Well, multiples of 12 are 12, 24. 24 is also a multiple of 8. So 6, and how many 24ths? Well, 8 times 3 is 24. 1 times 3 is 3. And we also need our 24ths in the second value. And 12 times 2 is 24. 5 times 2 is 10. Now we need to turn them into improper fractions. 6 times 4, 24 is, so let's do this over here. 24 times 6, 6, 12, 18, 24 is 144 plus the 3 equals 147. 147 24ths. Whoops, that should be a plus sign. Now, let's figure out the improper fraction for the second one. 24 times 8. 24 times 8. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 2 is 16, and 3 is 19. We add the numerator of 10. 202 24ths. Okay, keeping the denominator the same. Now we add 147 plus 202 for 349 24ths. And we want to turn this now into a mixed number. So we're going to divide 349 by 24. And let's look at 14. Let's see, 1. 24 times 1 is 24. With 10, 24 times 4 is 896. 3, 13. So it looks like 14 and 13 24ths will be our final answer. And finally, that was a challenging one. I think you guys are up to it. So it says that Natalie, that's my granddaughter's name, is baking a cake and cookies for her daughter's class party. She needs 1 2/3 cups of milk for the cake and 1/2 cup, and I assume that's still milk, for the cookies. If she has 3 cups of milk total, well, how much will she have left? Very tricky. We need to add 1 2/3 and 1/2, and then we need to subtract whatever we get here from 3 cups to get our final answer. That's our final answer. So let's start with the first problem. 1 2/3 plus 1/2. We need a new denominator of 6. So it'll be 1, 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 2 times 3 is 6, 1 times 3 is 3. Now we need to turn that 1 and 4, 6 into a mixed number. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 10 is, plus 4 is 10. So we will have 10, 6 plus 3, 6 equals 13, 6. Now, what I would do is I would not make this into a mixed number yet. We're not done, okay? We still have to subtract that from 3. So we need a denominator for the 3. 3 minus 13, 6. Remember, there's an invisible 1 as a denominator under any whole number. So how do we convert this number to a denominator with 6? Well, same way we've been doing it all along. We'll just multiply. So it will be 1 times 6 is 6. 3 times 6 is 18. So 18, 6 minus 13, 6 equals 18 minus 13 is 5, 6. So the answer is how much. Well, the question is, how much will she have left? We're talking about cups of milk, okay, cups. So she will have 5/6 of a cup left after she makes both the cake and the cookies. So it was a little bit challenging, but good exercise for us. Let's go back to our exit, and let's write in our answers. I think we're going to need a bright color for this. How about this bright blue-green? When I add or subtract fractions, the first thing I need to do is find a common denominator. To do that, I must find the least common multiple of the two denominators that are given, and that's the two denominators given in the problem. So I'm going to try to draw a bat for you today. Not so good at that, but we will try. There's your bat. You did a batty great job today. I'm thrilled with how hard you're working. Keep up the good work, and as always, if you work hard, you'll be great.